Man, in less than a year, you're ranked number 15 in the people consider the most stacked division in the UFC, the bantamweight division. Casey, man, how do you describe that? Like most guys, it takes like 3, 4 years, 5 years to get ranked.
Right. I mean, I'm super grateful for, receiving the ranking, but, it's something that I've truly, a place I truly believe I belonged for a long time. Right. Even on the top of the LFA cage when I was champ, I screamed out UFC top 10, here I come. Right. And I'm right on the ass of the top 10. So, you know, granted, the two guys that I beat, those guys could easily be up there as well. Same way with Merab. I feel like he could be there as well too. So, I got thrown into the fire, and I've delivered. So I'm looking to solidify that ranking, I guess.
Your time in the LFA, being a double champ and fighting the best guys in the regional scene. Nowadays, you see a lot of guys jumping in at like 5-0, 6-0, 7-0. Do you feel like they're jumping in too early? They need to go out there and win some belts and get that experience in main events. And is that kind of like the secret to your success of getting in there and winning against the top guys?
Yeah, I got a call when I was 5-0. I've really, my resume, I hadn't fought anybody super tough. I was about to fight Jared Papazian for the Fitachi belt. And they called me like 5 days before. Just didn't end up going through. But, I would have jumped on that opportunity. Now looking back at it, I think 8 fights later, I ended up getting signed, something like that. I'm super grateful for all that experience that I gained, in those LFA title fights, fighting up at 35, Ramon Salazar, just a bunch of experience that I got from grinding my way to that spot. Also the Contender Series twice, that was a huge step of experience, for me as well. So, yes, I definitely think the guys jumping in 5-6-0, some of them are ready. I felt ready, but I'm really happy with the way it went down.
Yeah, I feel bad for the guys that kind of get in there too early and then they lose like 2, 3, or even they lose one and they get cut, and it's almost like impossible for them to get back into the UFC. But luckily, there's other promotions out there, like the PFL and Rizin and One Championship.
Right. And, if I would have got signed at like 5 or 6-0, I feel like I could have learned a lot, in the UFC. I mean, all those 8 fights, I feel like they were UFC caliber fights anyways, so I could have definitely taken a bigger paycheck for those 8 fights and been learned and been happy with it. But like I said, I came in hot the way I wanted to off a knockout and against some stiff competition, and it's landed me, in the top 15 of one of the hottest divisions in the UFC.
Yeah, that confidence really played a big role in the fight against Borg, Bermudez, big wins.
Mm-hmm.
When you dissect those fights, what do you see like from those victories that are going to benefit you, not even in the next fight, but like 4 fights later or 5 fights later in the UFC?
Right. Borg and Bermudez, they're both like grappling heavy. That's where they really dominate their fights, but they're kind of different styles. One's a submission specialist, one's a control, beat you up type of specialist in Borg. And I passed both those tests, and I knew my grappling skills were top class, especially against bigger 35ers, and I don't think they get any bigger than Manny,
Yeah.
So, and I passed those tests, not only I knew something I knew in my head, but I never really experienced it. I could out grapple all those flyweights, being a little bit bigger, a good sized flyweight, but, that was like one of my biggest, learning experiences from that, especially the Manny. And then, Borg's, the last guy to beat him up or stop him besides me was Mighty Mouse. So, he's up with the best of the best, and felt like, just really like I proved it, just like an artist, they maybe have something in their mind that they can paint, and, it's really no good until they actually paint that picture. And, that's kind of what I did in my first 2 fights. And now I feel like, let's go. Let's take on the best in the world and collect another belt.
A lot of people expected you to get back quick, but we haven't seen
Mhm.
you since last October. That's like, sorry, last August, and that's
Right, right.
yeah, last August, and it's been what 6 months or so.
Yeah.
Man, it's just like, what were you doing? Was it just the UFC side? They weren't sending you any contracts, or what was happening?
Yeah, so I've been asking for a fight since the day after I fought Manny. I've been training the whole time. I've been staying ready. Actually, I stayed ready just in case anything happened on December 14th with those bantamweight fights. I basically have been ready this whole time. Just really the UFC side, and nothing against them. It's just they kind of seemed like they put a pause on matching up a lot of bantamweights until the Faber and the Aldo thing went down, and then they matched everybody up kind of there, and then at the beginning of 2020. So. Still kind of understanding all that, got one of the best managers in the game, Jason House, and he's on it. But just sometimes the way the matchups work in the UFC, even if you're on a winning streak, you may have to hit the sidelines for just a second until the right matchup works.
When Frankie Edgar dropped out the fight with Corey Sandhagen, I thought, man, they got to put somebody in with Corey,
Right.
but he has to be in the ranking. I was like, man, why don't you just put Casey in there, man? Let him fight. Like
I would
he
have been
has,
down. I would have been down. That would have been another huge step in the,
yeah.
up the ladder. But I would have said yes to that, man. Let's just say this. I don't say no to many fights. On my way to when I think it was like 2 years after the Contender Series. I literally text my manager every flyweight fight that fell out in the UFC, like 3 days notice, 2 weeks notice. I was like, I'll do it. I'll do it. So I've been ready to fight, but sometimes you just got to sit back and get better, and that's what I've been doing.
Merab, was he a name that you expected on the contract for the next fight?
I mean, like we said, bantamweight's so stacked right now. I thought maybe a ranked opponent, but you see that a lot. Not always do ranked opponents fight other ranked opponents. They fight guys that are, kind of that maybe could be there too, right? That's kind of where Marab's at. He's won his last two. I thought he won his first. I thought he won his debut. The judge's decision was close, but it is what it is. And I thought he was beating Ricky Simone before he got put to sleep at the end. So, if Marab's 4-0 in the UFC, he's definitely up there in the rankings. And I think that's where, as a fighter, he is. So it's a good test for me. I moved up quick, so I'm just looking to kind of solidify that spot.
You're undefeated in the UFC. You extend your streak to 6.
Yeah.
You were the underdog in both of those fights. Do you feel like now you're heading into this fight as the favorite?
I think I may be a little bit of a favorite this fight. In my eyes, I'm an undefeated fighter. I've never been beaten inside a cage, octagon, ring, anything. You know what I mean? So I'm carrying all the confidence in the world, and I think I may be a little bit of a favorite this time. And if I'm not, I'm a good bet.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you're a very good bet in your last 2 fights, so I'm pretty sure a
Yeah.
lot of people are going to put you on the. If you're a betting person, I'm not a betting man, but if you're a betting man, those parlays will probably have your name on it.
Yeah, I got a couple like Twitter and Instagram messages from some guys all over the world, like, "Hey, you were an awesome bet. Thanks for winning," type of thing. So, and I ran into a guy in LA at the Bellator fights. He was looking at me kind of weird, and I finally just kind of said hi, and he's like, "Man, you lost. You cost me so much money." He bet against me, against Borg and Bermudez.
Oh, okay.
So, some guys lost some money on me too, I guess.
Works both ways, man. Now, you've had a bunch of months not fighting, but you've been training. Have you tried anything new in those months? Have you tried any different types of training or any new coaches?
No, I'm just kind of sticking to my normal stuff. I feel like I have my complete package of team, with the MMA Lab and also Rise Combat Sports. John Crouch is amazing at the lab, and then Chris Carriasso with Rise. I still bounce back and forth there. And then I got my strength coach in Tucson, Nick Hulk, as well. So I've just been getting better. There's not a better MMA gym in the world than the MMA lab. We run deep in there and seeing all kinds of different looks. And then I go back to the drawing board, get better with Chris and the guys at Rise as well. So really, I'm always improving, right? I've been professional for 5 years now, and I've been grappling a lifetime, and only striking for as long as I've been doing MMA. So I'm always coming up with new things, improving my striking skills and just my overall MMA game.
We've talked about Chris before and what he brings to the table. You add John Crouch. What does he bring to the table that kind of elevates you to that next level?
Man, it's like having Bill Belichick and Tom Brady in your corner. You know what I mean? Chris is the hands-on guy. The OG that's done it all, and Crouch is the general that's been leading guys into battle for a long, long time. So you cross the best of both worlds, and that's a dangerous combination.
In 2019, you scratched the surface. You get ranked. 2020, do you feel like this is going to be like the breakout year? You could get that title, the breakout year fighter, because there's a lot of guys in the past that have kind of taken that path. They come in, win a couple, and then that next year, boom, they're in the top five.
Yeah, man. I'm looking to stay active this year. As long as that's the plan for the UFC as well. And I put Merab away. Start working my way up that ranking. Jump. I feel like once you jump into the top 15 and you start working your way up that ladder, it's only a matter of time before you get a title shot. Especially if you keep winning. I know there's a bunch of guys ahead of me, but the year goes on and I have 3 or 4 fights this year and I win them all. I mean, I feel like I got to definitely be in a title contention talk, with my resume outside the UFC. And then, I put 3 or 4 guys away or win 3 or 4 fights, now. Man, I definitely have to be in talks for a title.
Yeah, exciting times. But the title is in limbo. We don't know exactly what's gonna happen with that fight. They're talking about Cejudo versus Aldo in Brazil. Is
Yeah.
that something you want to see?
Man, I feel like they're making the matchups that one, the champion wants, and two, what they want as well. Kind of, with Adesanya and Romero. Romero, I think, is it 2 losses? I know he lost his last one on the judges' scorecards, at least. But Izzy wanted that fight. The UFC definitely wants that fight, so they made it happen. And there's some guys in there that could be more worthy of a title shot than Romero for sure. I think the same thing's kind of happening at bantamweight. Definitely some guys that that are on a crazy win streak that you could put in there. But I mean, I kind of want to see Cejudo versus Aldo myself. You know what I mean? And if Aldo steals the belt, now I'm chasing Jose Aldo. So what a better division to be a part of than chasing the great legend Jose Aldo once again.
Let's say you're holding the belt. Would it be smart for the champion to go down to Brazil with all the stuff that's happened in Brazil, with the judges and like weird things, in the hotels and stuff? Would it be smart for the champ to do that?
Man, I mean, it would definitely be. I don't know many people that raise their hand that say, "Hey, I want to go to Brazil. I want to fight."
A Brazilian legend,
right? A Brazilian, especially Jose Aldo. You're definitely getting booed on the way out.
Yeah.
And that's the least of your worries on the way out. But I mean, maybe not smart, but if Cejudo's the man that he says he is, he's always got a mean mug, so he doesn't seem too scared of much. Why not?
What do you think the chances are of Jose Aldo dethroning Cejudo?
I think it's good, man. As long as he doesn't gas out like Moraes did. I think kind of what Moraes did the first round to Cejudo. I feel like Aldo does. I feel like Aldo's got really good takedown defense. He always has, and so I think Cejudo struggles there. And then I don't think Aldo would let Cejudo tie clinch him and knee him like that. I think that's something that Aldo would be on top of. I think Aldo could definitely have a high chance of dethroning him.
One last thing. definition of success in combat sports? Do you see it as belts, money, legacy? What is your opinion on that?
Uh, Man, definitely out of those three, legacy. I want people to remember the name. Especially if we talk about myself, my name. Money, yeah, money's great. Definitely have to make enough money to make a living, but you know, I think with legacy comes money. And then all those together, you get some belts, you get a belt. All those things end up happening at once. But I definitely want people to remember the legacy, first and foremost.
All right, February 15th, USC on ESPN Plus 25. The location is Rio Rancho, New Mexico, USA. Man, I'm excited to see you back, man, because that momentum that you created at the end of last year was something incredible to see, and I'm pretty sure it's going to continue on February 15th. Thank you, Casey, for the time, and good luck on the fight and everything that you're doing outside the cage.
Hey, thanks, man. Yeah, exactly. I'm looking to continue that 2019 momentum, and we'll see what happens in 2020.